Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So, Shane, Ben, we're going to go through our top 50 games of all time that we know of, that we've played, that we like,
At this point,
presumably. Yeah, so it's January 2020. So, obviously, there'll be other games, probably, at some stage we'll play. Ones that haven't come out yet.
I'm sure there will be.
Ones that have, ones that I own and have languished in my cupboard for
Ones that
up
we
to
may or
over
may
a
not have
decade.
played. Right. Yes.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So, for example, Fifth Avenue will not be part of the list because although I own it and have for 15 years or so,
Sure.
I haven't actually played it yet.
Sure.
But I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I might play it tonight. We might play it afterwards.
Cool.
I don't have it here. We're sort of discussing what the sort of are there any ground rules, and I think there should be. Shane thinks probably not. So,
All right.
Sort of.
Well,
what
maybe
I'm
you
trying to say is we don't want any repeats. So.
Okay.
If there's two games that are really just the same game, maybe a different printing, or they've just changed the name and different companies brought it out, but you've played both and you like them both, just name one of them because I think that's a pragmatic, fair thing to do.
Right.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah. So I guess the way I went about creating my list was I had a look what I had on BGG, Board Game Geek, and took those games, sorted them out, used that as a starting point. I also introduced other games that I've played
Right.
fairly
Do you
recently.
sort them in alphabetical order or just in order that you like them? Does that will work better?
Well, I have rated most of my games on Board Game Geek, so I've worked that out, incorporated other games I've played more recently into that. Some games that I don't own, some I've only played once. I'm pretty sure I've played every game on my list, as we were discussing earlier.
Right. So yeah, and if you haven't, let's face it, how can you possibly have a reasonable, how do you,
Well,
how can you really
We'll see.
know how much you
We'll
like?
see.
I have games, I have Gloomhaven at home.
Yes.
I expect it'll probably be one of my 50 favourite games.
Okay.
But I haven't put it on the list because I don't know that for sure, and I don't know where I'd rank it.
Okay.
Well, I think it's probably going to be my
Okay.
17th favourite game. Well, how do I know?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's right, kids. That's why you do school.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Shall we start?
We should.
Okay. Who's going to go first?
I don't mind.
I'll go
What have you
first.
got? Yeah.
I'll go first.
Yeah. All right.
All right. We can do it in BS order.
Okay.
So-
yes.
okay.
Yes. All right. Great.
So, coming in at number 50, the list here on my phone is. Should I remember where to start though, because the list goes way beyond the 50 here. So, where was it? Okay, is a game. We've little teasers for each one too, I think, to say.
Sure.
It's a game. It's from last millennium.
Last millennium. Okay.
1997 to be precise. That being said, this has gone through a few guises and names over time. There's been a few different. I haven't played any of the other versions, if you like, of this game. It's a card game, and you have played it. It involves an elimination of creatures, and you're betting on which creature will stay in
Okay.
the event.
Okay.
It's it's a Reiner Knizia game.
Reiner Knizia.
I like my Reiner.
Knizia. Yes.
You remember the game? You just remember
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, so it's a Colossal Arena.
Colossal Arena. of
Colossal
course.
Arena.
Yeah.
So Colossal Arena plays, I think, up to 5 players. I think it's 5. I think it's 2 to 5. And basically, you have a number of monsters with different abilities, and they fight each other. And you're playing cards until there's one card that's lower than every other card, and every monster's got at least one card played on it.
Sure.
That one then gets eliminated. You go to the next round, and there's sort of betting at different levels. The earlier you bet, the more points you get.
Sure.
It's a good little game. There's
Sure.
interesting dynamics. I know that it's been a hit when we played it in our group.
With our other groups, yeah.
It's been quite
Yeah.
popular.
Sure. Yeah. Great choice.
I know.
I normally don't.
They're all great choices.
I know.
I've got 49 more great choices.
There is. Well, we'll see.
Even better choices.
We'll see.
Okay.
Normally not a huge fan of Reiner Knizia, but this is a good one.
He speaks highly of you.
Yes, I'm sure.
What's yours?
All right, so 50 for me is, I'm going to start with something a little boring. Trivial Pursuit for me. Especially.
True to your word.
Sorry.
A little boring.
Yes.
Having said that, I do love a game of any trivia-based game.
Yeah. I know you're a fan of trivia. The more recent ones update the questions. The game gets stale after kind of 5 years. Everyone forgets those events that it's based around.
It does. I've still got the original game from 1983.
Right.
And there aren't many questions like things that happened in the 2000s for some reason,
Right.
for example.
Right. So
I'm okay with that because
yeah.
I remember things when I was not as old.
Right.
But and frankly, I got to remember probably half the questions in the box. It's 3,600 questions, but they got played and played and played.
That's a lot of playing.
And my memory is pretty reasonable, and the questions just stuck so much so that if you were to play me in that game and we had similar knowledge overall, I would absolutely thrash you because of the memory of those questions in the box.
Right,
A lot of
difficult
stuff.
questions,
Yes,
yeah.
I remember that
Sure,
one.
sure.
So, but yeah, great game. All trivia games. I guess that's the most successful one ever. So,
Yeah.
is there a particular trivia pursuit that you like over other ones? that you've played?
I had the 25th anniversary edition down
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
list just as my favourite one. It was purely the one that I got. It was the one I kind of got into at that time.
Right. I think I've got that one as well. Actually, I think I have.
Right, and the questions were sort of contemporary for their time. We enjoyed playing it, with our family and that sort of thing. And yeah.
I had a geography one which I quite like, but it's not good to play against people that aren't specifically into geography because it just becomes too
Right.
tight. It's over different
Right.
categories, I guess.
And
Helps,
I think this is where Trivial Pursuit falls down a little bit. It sort of relies on people having certain knowledge in certain areas and having that good base of general knowledge.
I think
If you've got people in your group that don't have good base of general knowledge, it's not a great game.
yeah, they generally don't want to play either. You don't ostracise people,
Right.
Although
Right.
you don't want people to feel like I'm no good at trivia and they sort of just want to sit back and
Right.
watch sort of thing. And
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's not for everyone. The structure of the game tends to take too long.
True.
The idea of getting the 6 wedges, all the unnecessary dice rolling, they probably could improve that and maybe
Sure.
just remove that.
Yes.
Even just potentially cycle through topics. Maybe you can select a topic that you haven't got yet, just move on from there and until you get them all.
Sure.
And maybe that's easy. But having said that, you can do that anyway with the current set. Just ditch the board and
You could, right? Maybe have
Yeah,
three or something.
yeah.
Or something.
So,
Yeah.
I know sometimes you might give people a head start of a couple of wedges and they could get to pick which ones they feel weaker at maybe, and it could be a way of making it quicker and potentially make it a little bit fairer
Sure.
for people that don't. Well, having said that, it's less fair than to people that have a good broad general knowledge. So, yeah,
True.
yeah, good choice.
All right. What have you got for
All right.
49?
49. Okay, so I'm moving on to a game I don't think you've played before. It's
Okay.
it's a bit of a classic. It's even older than my previous games. 2 years older than my previous game. So it harks back to
Okay.
yesteryear.
Okay.
I mean, by board game standards, it's almost an antique.
Okay.
From 1995, and it's a little game called El Grande.
El Grande. Okay.
Yes. Now,
Sure.
to be fair, I played the game once.
Okay.
And I had a really good experience with it. It's a cracking game, and it has some area control, worker placement. It's fairly early, sort of good worker placement style game. It was nothing out of the world, but it just had simple mechanisms and I think it had an action point system.
This is definitely a game I'm very keen to play. It's in some contexts it's been rated as the best area control game ever created. It's
It has a
received
very
high
beautiful
praise.
simplicity to it. I'm surprised. I'm just looking at Board Game Geeky and the weight. Yeah, it's got the complexity weight.
Yes.
Its rating is 3.06. I'm surprised it's that high. So,
Okay.
I really am. But
Yes.
so a lot of mechanisms: area, majority/influence, area movement, auction and bidding, card drafting, hand management, memory, and simultaneous action selection.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
yeah, I mentioned worker placement. I guess that was wrong. I think it's just probably just placing people into territories.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's my number 49.
Okay. Yeah. Credible. All right. So my number 49 is a game that I know you're a fan of, and that's San Juan.
Oh yes, very
San
good.
Juan, yeah.
Good choice. That may or may not be on my list.
Well,
Some
all
stage.
right, we'll see. So San Juan's a great little card version of, I guess, a longer game, Puerto Rico.
It is the capital city of Puerto Rico. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I believe that you've told me that before.
Right. That's what the kids are doing.
Yes, right, sure.
Read books.
Yes, or your Atlas or something. Yeah, great little card game. It's very compact, simple setup, small table area, plays quickly, lots of interesting choices, good use of the cards. The cards have multiple uses, kind of reduces the components, makes the game a lot more versatile, I suppose, and not as complex to
It's
understand.
not near as complex as Puerto Rico.
No, much simpler game. Still captures the feel of it. It can go a little long, it's a little lengthy at times, but otherwise a good game.
Yeah, so we have different versions of what
Yeah.
too long is, but
We do.
I've never had too long a game of San Juan.
Same one.
It's pretty neat the way it's packaged. The idea of using the cards to pay for the goods, which I believe is something that comes from Race for the Galaxy or something originally, that type of mechanism was
Yes.
kind of taken from there. I think it's the same guy, potentially. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's a great little game, and the portability was a reason why. So last year when I went over to the States, I was considering a couple of games to stick in the hand luggage, and that was one of the options.
Sure.
But in the end, I just thought too many cards on a tray table, turbulence.
Yeah,
I'd hate to damage San Juan.
I said it was compact, but it's
reasonably compact, let's say.
it's not a playing game.
Yeah, it's a play around the table work
Yep.
game. Number 48.
Okay, so 48.
So,
Yeah.
48.
What's your number 48?
Well, you know this game. You played it.
Sure.
You don't like it.
Okay.
It's a word game.
Okay.
It's even older than my last two games.
Okay.
The game was released in the 80s,
All right.
although there are versions of it, sort of homemade versions of it prior to that.
Okay.
Usually people just used to play it with pen and paper and a dictionary.
Okay.
And it's a game where you have words and make up fake meanings for them.
Oh right. Balderdash.
No, it really is a game.
Right.
Yes, Balderdash.
Yes. Touche.
Balderdash is my number 48.
48. Okay.
You're probably surprised that it's not higher.
I am a little surprised. Yeah.
You know what? I'm a little surprised too. But then I look back on it and I thought, no, that's about where it goes.
Okay.
Now, I do
Okay.
love Balderdash. I have played an awful lot. I mean, that may
Yeah.
impact the ratings too. Like things slide a bit after time if you've played them so much, and I really have.
Right.
The game needs a very specific sort of crowd, one without Shane Brown in it. For example.
Ouch.
Um,
I think like
it's a very creative, wordy, humorous game. It's not particularly competitive.
it is all those things, and that's why I'm surprised you like it. It's not a competitive game. It's not the style of game you normally go for.
No, it isn't.
The reason I don't like it is because it's not. It's not that it's not clear cut. It's just that there's no kind of. I think, and it's not even that there's a lack of structure to it. I don't mind games that aren't clear cut or don't have have a lack of structure. It's the fact that it kind of has a pretense of structure that just isn't there, and that's what I don't like about it.
Okay, so what's that mean?
All right. It's a game that I expected to have structure. It sets itself up.
If you could explain the unstructured part to the audience, and then they may be able to
Sure.
empathise with you, because I can't.
Well, for example, one of the categories is like the acronyms category. So, yeah, you've got to come up with a.
It's initials, really, not acronyms.
All right, we've had this discussion.
Yeah,
And the idea is to come up with
What they stand for.
what they stand for exactly. So you've got to come up with something. Now, the supposed real answer is not. Would you say not a particularly credible answer in a lot of cases?
in the case of the one with the initials, then it's going to be something that is pretty obscure. Like you're right, it may be the New Hampshire Numismatist Society or something like that.
Yeah, but it's even like, you know, things that are fairly hard to believe exist, right? And it kind of.
I guess it depends.
I don't know,
So the original Balderdash, of course, was just words. There was
Right.
sort of no extra categories.
Okay.
So I agree a little bit with the initials one. I think it can get a little bit out of hand. I think, is that the one that they've replaced though with the laws, or I think it might be the movie one that they replaced.
We're
with
talking
laws.
like absolute Balderdash.
Yeah, absolute / beyond Balderdash. They changed one
Okay.
of the 5 categories
Okay.
to laws.
Okay. Yeah.
First, you know, like there's a local law somewhere that, you know, in a particular place that lets you do. I don't know, I can't remember how it works,
Right.
but they have changed one of the categories, and it may be because of that sort of reason,
Right.
where things were a little bit, you know, up in the air and a bit fluffy.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah.
the
And
words
I mean
is-
that's saying
the
a lot
words
for a
is
game
very-
like Balderdash,
yeah.
right?
Words is very distinct. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, there's other categories. There's dates and history. I think they're okay because they are things that happen
Right.
on that day.
Right.
You could
A
potentially,
little- yeah, they're a little bit more concrete, a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Sure.
it's a great game, and yeah, I've got it 48, and because it's a great game, it's a 48. That means that I've played lots of games.
47 better games.
47 better games to come.
Yeah.
So I assume that First Shame is probably in his top 20. It's a very good game.
20. All right. Well, we'll see how we go.
What do you got for 48?
My number 48 is a game I haven't played for a little while. Quite a popular game with many expansions, many different versions of it, and that is Small World.
Oh, okay, Small World.
Small
Yeah.
World, yeah. So, what would you say Small World is? More.
Well, it's better
area
than
control.
it's better than the song.
Right. Okay.
If there's a song I hate and a ride, and a Disney ride, the most frightening experience of my life.
All right. Because of the song.
Partially because of the song, and also because
Okay.
you're stuck on this crappy little boat for about 13 minutes, and there's
Okay.
people from around the world, like little wooden figures spinning their arms around like nutters,
Right.
and it's just
Okay.
frightening. You just want to get off.
Okay.
It's horrific. I can still think of it now. I went on it in 1994, and it haunts me.
All right. All right.
It's
So,
like,
Small World.
It's on and on. Oh, sorry.
Goes on and on, doesn't it? Yes. Small World. So, great little area control game. Plays very quickly. Good number of players. I want to say maybe like up to 6 players,
I think it's like 6.
something like
so.
that. Yeah.
At least up to 6 anyway. I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not a bad game. Not probably not as much depth in it as I like to have in a game, but it's reasonable. It's certainly got the replayability. It's got the different factions you can, you know, the races
Yeah,
and the abilities that you can
chop
mix
and
and
change,
match.
shouldn't they? So.
And so every game you're going through, you know, maybe 8 different, you know, faction and ability combinations, and yeah, they each play differently on the board.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And because
So
they're
you've got-
randomly sort of joined to each other, the two halves, you end up with
You've got to
you
adapt
know,
your strategy to
potentially
it. And
millions of different combinations that
Right.
you could be playing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's good.
My number 48, Small World.
Yeah, good choice. I find that game very tight for the movement and stuff.
It is tight.
But that's
It
the
is
idea, I
tight.
suppose. It is small world.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
after all.
Yes.
Uh,
It is.
okay, my number 47 also starts with S, but that's where the similarity stops. Now, for once, I'm not going back in time.
Okay.
I've got 1997, 1995, 1984,
This is a game from the future, folks.
2014.
Okay.
It's practically the future
Okay.
for me. It's a game that you have played, I think. Yeah, I'm sure I've played this with you before.
Okay.
It's part of a trilogy. The games aren't versions of each other or anything.
Okay.
It's like a design trilogy.
Is this in the Explorers series or
Well, it's called the North Sea series.
the North Sea series? Right.
So the game ends in of the North Sea. You've got 3 to choose from.
Well, not Explorers then, I'm guessing. It's not Explorers of the North Sea.
That's right.
It
It's
is
not Explorers of
It's
the
not
North Sea.
Explorers of the North Sea. Okay.
So that leaves you with.
In theory, that leaves me with two other
Right.
choices.
Yeah.
But I think that
In fact.
presumes that I know the other two in the
Right.
series.
Okay, so there's.
From my point of view,
I
it's
think
actually quite
I
a
think
few
you've
other
played them,
choices.
There's,
I
right,
I
you've
think
got all
I
different
have.
names for them.
Yes,
like
I
Enclins
do.
of the North Sea,
It could be chieftains of the North Sea, or it could be Vikings, or
empaths of the North Sea, or something.
I don't know. Yeah,
Tourist bureaus of the North Sea. No,
Blue
it's-
Whales. I don't know.
no, it's not that. It's shipwrights of the North Sea.
Shipwrights. I have played shipwrights.
Yeah.
I have played shipwrights.
You have played shipwrights. That's correct. So in this game, you have to sort of employ. It's a worker placement game. You're employing people like your Vikings, and you have like a carpenter or a blacksmith or that kind of thing, and then they're able to build other structures, and ultimately you've got to get boats. Pretty much it.
Sure.
I just think it's alright. I think it's quite widely panned, but I thought it was quite a good game. It probably was a bit lengthier than it needed to be, but it's alright.
Yeah, and I think my comments would sit around yours. It's certainly too long for me. It's a well-constructed game. I don't think there's any inherent flaws in it. The game design and production quality is excellent.
Yeah.
Very, very good with the artwork and the components.
It came with the.
But it does play, just too long, and that's a fault for a lot of games.
It
I think
came with the
they're not
expansion,
tight
the
enough.
separate board expansion that you place the workers on. You don't have to play that, but I think that was integral to the game.
Okay.
But yeah, Shipwrights of
And
the,
I think we did play it that.
we did
that
yeah,
time.
Yeah, I think that was good. Shipwrights of the North Sea. It's also a beautiful game, of course. Like when the components in
It is.
all those games in that series
Yeah.
are lovely. So,
Yeah.
and that's my number 47.
Number 47, alright, cool. My number 47 is a game I bought recently for the kids. Exploring a Jungle, we played it recently. And
Hi, Karuba.
Karuba indeed, number 47. So, yeah, Karuba is a, what do you call it?
It's a game.
It's a tile laying game.
Oh, okay,
It's a
sure.
tile laying game.
More information. Yeah.
Right, and it's interesting in that there's randomness, but it's shared by all the players. So all the players have the same
Random.
situation. They're in the same situation,
Yeah.
right? So they can make use of the same tile layout and tiles that come up. It's basically up to each player where they place them, how they structure their map to get the explorers to the temples, and it's interesting how people approach that, I think, and
Yeah,
play.
like I played it just the once, and I was really quite inefficient, and trying to sort of over maximise the crossover pieces and things like
Right.
that. And that's a bit of a
Right.
suck it and see thing, and
Yeah.
but no, the basic idea is really good, and it reminds me, as you know, of a game where an old PC game where you used to lay pieces of pipe and have to get from one part of the grid all the way through to the other part,
Sure.
making the pipe as long as possible.
Sure.
Before the time ran out, or in this case it's not a time thing, but you do always have a piece to lay, and the other person has exactly the same piece, and they have to put into the
Right.
grid, or they can get rid of it, and there's other things that they can get instead.
Okay.
But in essence, that's the game. And
Sure.
it's, good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Karuba, it's fun to say too.
Karuba. Is it really Karuba?
Hey, Karuba.
Yes.
You have to say it with the I.
Right, sure.
Yeah, it's Karuba with an I.
Yeah, beautifully printed game. Not a lot of strategic depth. More of a kids-oriented game, I would say, but enough there to have a bit of fun, even with an adult group.
Yeah.
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 Mm.
Yeah, good. It's good for the game, I think. Like,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Number 46.
46. Wow, this is exciting. I've been waiting for this one. What is it? Oh, okay. So this is a game. This is one of the, possibly the close to the heaviest game on the list that I've got here,
Okay.
by the VGG ratings for such things. And it's set in a war that's very cold.
You wouldn't be thinking of Twilight Struggle? would you?
Twilight Struggle. I
Yeah.
am thinking of Twilight Struggle.
Okay.
It's the ultimate Cold War game, and another one that you're thinking, wow, that is low on your list, Peter.
I am
'cause
surprised. This does genuinely surprise me.
I've this up before, and
you've,
it is, again, a thoroughly enjoyable
You
game.
are. I mean, you know, you do like to talk up certain games that you're passionate about.
I do,
and this is one that you're passionate about.
Some of those passions may be a byproduct of, it's a hard game to get to the table, and it's
Yes.
2 players, so
Yes.
so if we're at a group, it's like
It's
a
immediately
2-player game, like,
right. Yeah.
and because it's a long game, it is a long game, and it's a slow learn of the rules. In fact, because I've played it only a few times and years apart, I've always got to read the rule first anyway.
Sure.
So getting through that can be a little bit arduous. But look, it's got similar mechanism to 1960, Making of a President,
Yes.
which we played the other day.
We did play the other
Played
day.
the first game of that,
Yeah.
and it
Quite a
uses
good
that same point system, so which I really like. It's central to both games. So there's this, I think the same guy co-designed each game, and basically you have a card where it has an event on it, or you can spend like action points instead. You get to choose which one you want to do, and if you choose the action points, the other player can then trigger the event if they want to.
Right.
And there's ways that you can protect
So you
against
can
it and so on.
force them into that.
Yeah, exactly.
Force them into
Force
taking a
them to-
move, but essentially doing something that is potentially for your benefit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And I just like that mechanism in general. Trial and Struggle has a space race on the side. It's fairly complex. I couldn't even tell you how that runs at the moment. I'd have to check again. But yeah, it was the #1 game on Board Game Geek, I think.
It was for quite a while,
For
wasn't it?
a little while when it first came out.
Yeah.
I think it cracked through. Did it jump past Puerto Rico for a little while and then slip back again? I think.
I don't know. Like in
It's
those
from 2005.
Board
so-
Game Geek ratings are sort of based on certain things where they.
Oh yeah, there's the number you first thought of. And,
Yes.
yeah,
you know,
it has
it's-
extra weighting
it's
based
not-
on the number of ratings. Like the more ratings it's got, the more it sort of makes it more top-heavy rating.
Right.
Because I guess small numbers of ratings, they don't want to push it too far up because the sample space is small,
Sure.
which can artificially make something lower than it should be as well.
Just
So-
on Twilight Struggle, this is a game that I sort of dreaded playing a little bit, but I must admit after playing 1960 the other night,
Right. And
I'm
learning the
much more looking forward to
simulators.
Twilight
Yeah.
Struggle. 1960 took 3 or 4 hours for us to play through. It was my first game. You hadn't played it for a while.
Yeah, it took me over 3, I think.
I was a little bit hesitant about it, but I was actually really engaged for the whole time, and it was quite a decent game. So I'm a lot more
Yes, I
excited
felt like
about
a-
Twilight Struggle now.
It felt like a short 3 hours and a long 3 hours. Like
It
sort of-
felt like a much
yeah.
shorter 3 hours than I was expecting. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
if
sure.
you like one, you'll like the other. Like,
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and you like one or the other more. I guess. I guess Twilight Struggle's a slightly heavier game. Not a lot heavier. It's a slightly heavier game. But again, because it shares so many mechanics, then yeah, if you like one,
Sure.
very unlikely you dislike the other. So
Sure.
that's my number 46.
46.
Twilight Struggle.
All right.
What's your 46?
My 46, glad you asked. Pharaoh's Gula Gulo, or Pharaoh Uh-Oh.
That's my game.
It's another kids game. A lot of fun to play with the kids. It's essentially a path, through, there's like a pyramid and a jungle path.
Right.
There's a container of, marbles with the staff in the middle.
Have you lost your marbles?
You can use marbles in this
Right.
game. Yep. Great game to play with the kids. Lots of fun. The kids love pulling out the marbles and going on the path and taking a bit of a
Right.
risk and just
Oh,
learning
are you like
mechanics of
taking
playing games
marbles
and
to
that sort of
see
thing.
like what colour they are? And that
You,
kind of thing? Is
you
there
flip over tiles along the path.
Right.
If a certain colour comes up, if yellow comes up, you've got to pick yellow out of the.
Oh, okay.
The bowl.
Hope to pick out your loads.
Well, you've got to pick out. You can see what colour's there.
Right.
You've just got to go for that one, and if it's kind of buried underneath you, you risk knocking out the Pharaoh's stuff.
Okay, so it's a bit of dexterity. thing,
It's
isn't it?
dexterity. It's a game where the kids are better at it than the adults generally because they've got
Yes.
small
Small
fingers.
fingers.
They can easily grab the balls.
Uh,
It gives them a bit of more encouragement and to do it and participate
Right.
more so than other games where the adults are generally
I
better
don't know
at
if
it than the
it's
kids.
like that digits.
Right. So it'd be great to play. So simple game, kids game, but 46 Pharaoh, Gulo Gulo.
Right. Choice. I like that. Probably a good choice. It sounds like a good one to play with the kids. So.
It is, yeah.
All right. My number 45 is the oldest game I have on my list.
The oldest. Okay. I'm going to say it's not June, is it?
That's right, it's not June.
It's not June, alright. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not Monopoly, so I'm going to say Scrabble.
Scrabble is a good game, but Scrabble is not on my list.
Okay.
I can divulge that now because it's not Scrabble and this game is not as old as Scrabble.
Alright, spoiler alert.
It's also not Stratego, which is from
Okay.
1948, I think.
Okay.
This game is from 1959.
1959.
And it's certainly not Risk,
Okay.
because if Risk gets into my top 50, then I need to have a serious talk to myself.
Okay. Alright.
The game takes 10, 12, 15 hours maybe.
Oh. It's this is involving diplomats.
It does involve diplomats. Do you know what the game's called?
The long and boring diplomat game.
That's right. Diplomacy.
Diplomacy.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a different noun from the same,
Yes.
same root word.
Right, yes.
Diplomacy. So Shane says it's long and boring. And how many times have you played Diplomacy?
I have attempted to play it on several occasions. It means that I thought about playing it and just got really scared about it and did
Right.
not play it.
So you thought about playing it.
Thought about playing it, yeah.
Right.
Which is what happens before I attempt to play any game. I think about playing it.
Yeah. But so, what makes you think about playing something and then getting scared of it? Is it just like me talking about it and saying that it takes a long time to play?
And reading something about the rules and how it works, and
It's
corroboration.
yeah,
It
it
does take a long time.
It's a long game. Look, I actually prefer this as a two-player game.
Okay.
Now this game plays up to 7 players
Mm-hmm.
because you've got Great Britain, Russia,
Sure.
US. Not
Okay,
not
how
the
many-
US, it's Europe. I'm saying
How many
that's-
separate rooms of a house do you need
to play two
to play a
players?
7-player game of diplomacy?
I'm not sure. Like
But it's more than one. Would you say it's more than one?
you would probably look. I've only ever played part of a game with I think maybe 5 or 6 players before.
Okay.
Every other game I've played has been 2-player,
Okay.
and I played the 2-player maybe a dozen times, quite a lot for
Okay.
a game that's taken a long time.
Okay.
2-player doesn't take as long as anywhere near as long as 6 or 7. So
Sure.
because the diplomacy sessions that you have normally really don't exist in a 2-player game.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you remove what might seem an important element of the game, you also remove a whole bunch of the time. And I think a lot of the time can be wasted time during diplomacy sessions, as they call them. Plus, you don't want to be in a game where there's 7 people and 5 of them are good friends, and the other 2 are just ostracised and beaten up.
Right, and this is some of the
I think
things I've been reading about it.
It's a potential downside of the game. So
Yeah.
the downside of the 2-player game
Yeah.
is that you start with 3 countries each.
Hang on, could I just ask, how long did the game with 5 or 6 players take?
We didn't finish.
You didn't finish. How long did you play for?
I can't remember.
Okay.
This would be 30 years ago, I reckon.
Okay. Okay.
We didn't finish. We probably only played a couple of hours, but we probably played it a turn or 2 sort of thing because the turns take a while. Because you write down all your turns. You write them down on you get pen and paper and you just write all your turns down.
Yeah.
Because all your turns are simultaneous, and then everyone says where they're moving to, and you've got one unit in any one place, and a unit can either stay where it is and defend, or it can back up a unit in an adjacent territory, or it can move to an adjacent territory, and you've got all these movements going on, people backing up other units, and in a multiplayer game you've got to have all kinds of deals going on to say, oh no, I'll look after you in here if you look after me later on, and then people backstab each other, and the diplomacy sessions potentially get longer and longer as well. They usually would cap them at 15 minutes or something.
15 minutes.
That's what they suggest in the rules, I think. So,
Yeah.
but like, the two-player game, the biggest downside of the two-player game is that you got to flip a coin for Italy at the start of the game. Straight away, if you win Italy, you're in front.
Okay.
But having said that, I have won without Italy before in a two-player game. So
Okay.
anyway, look, for its time, it's a really important game, I suppose. I know that we're not
Okay.
measuring games on their importance,
Okay.
but I mean, because Monopoly is important too. It's a great game in that it's taken a sort of complex war game model and made it relatively simple, albeit very long. It's a complex game, but it's relatively simple compared to some of those.
Would you say it's still a war game?
Well, ostensibly it is, because you're controlling territories, and it's the only way you can win is to gain territory.
Okay.
So you're essentially fighting your way in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Diplomacy. My number 40.
Oh, sorry, what?
Five.
Right. Sure, number 45.
Probably talked that one a bit.
Yes. The game that took us long to explain. About it as
It would have been about a tenth of the way through the
proportionally.
first turn.
Yes. Okay, so my number 45, an old classic that we did just mention, Scrabble.
Scrabs.
Yes.
Yeah, no, good choice.
Yeah, great word game. Probably doesn't need a lot of explanation. It's really good, I find, for building vocabulary. I like to house rule that you have to define the words, or at least have some sense
no,
of
here
what
we
the
go.
word is.
Here we go.
Um,
All right.
Simply to remove the aspect of, people just memorising word lists and,
That's part of the game.
well, for some.
Double A's a word. I don't know what it means.
It's a
But I
type of
still wanna
lava.
play it. So you remember because you want to play your rules.
It's a type of lava.
But you remember that because you want to play your rules.
Well, because...
But that's helped you remember words. This is your
Right,
habit, so-
right.
Yeah,
So,
fair enough. Look, it's good to know what the words mean.
yeah. Again, not a game for everybody. Not everyone likes that type of game. Some people don't like, constructing the words out of the letters, and that won't be their game. But for me, I think it's good.
Yeah, no, I like Scrabble. Must have played Scrabble hundreds of times, hundreds and hundreds of times.
Sure.
And it's always a good game. It doesn't take too long. Take a little while. You get sometimes you get really clogged bored.
And there are professional rules. They have the 25 minutes each.
Yeah,
you
like
have
the
to
clock
play
and
the
chess clock,
50 minutes.
basically,
Yeah, total time to play and all that sort of stuff. So
Okay.
Okay.
Good choice.
number 45, Scrabble for me.
Scrabble.
Yeah.
Number 45 with 225 squares on the board, 100 tiles, and 12 of these.
Sure.
So we need to remember.
I'm sensing it's time to move on to your number 44.
Probably is 44 is. Okay, so. Okay, this is a game that I don't own,
Okay.
but you do own.
Okay. All right.
There you go. It's a two-player game,
2-player.
and it's sort of named after a different game by the same person.
Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there. 7 Wonders Duel.
Seven Wonders Duel is correct.
All right.
Yeah, not that surprising, really.
No.
But yeah, no, I thought Seven Wonders Duel was just
Okay.
a good two-person take on the sort of Seven Wonders universe, if you like.
Sure.
I like the pyramid, with the face down and face up cards in the pyramid. I think that works quite well, and the balance of the different ways to win, like the military and the science and so on.
Right.
I think that there's a good balance there.
Yeah.
It's the kind of game I think that you need to. I've only played it maybe a couple of times with you, but it's the kind of game you probably need to play a few times before you get good at it, because you forget about one or more.
There
of
is
the
a little bit
aspects.
to learn. Multiple ways to win. Yeah.
So-
a few things going on there, but,
But yeah, I haven't played it for quite a few years, but I did enjoy it, and
Okay.
we'll play it again sometime.
Sure.
Definitely. And
Sure.
no shoot for that list, but for me,
Sure.
now number 44 is Seven Wonders: The Duel.
My number 44 is a game that's packaged as Aristo, otherwise known as Othello.
Ah, right, okay. It's
Yes.
also packaged as Reversi.
Reversi.
Yeah.
Reversi. Fairly simple rules.
Abstract.
Basic abstract strategy game. And yeah, there's quite a bit to the strategic depth, but not to the extent of something like chess, where you've got to thinking like quite a few moves ahead. You can more plan your game around a certain strategy.
That's
have certain strategies and tactics and play them out and try them on different games, and it's sort of a step back for me from chess.
You can
and
learn the rules in a minute too.
Yeah, you can. You can.
Which is chess. You need a few minutes, not you don't need a lot.
Right. Yeah.
You only got one sort of piece as it is, and it's flipping over from side to side depending on where you position your counters. Yeah, that's a good game. Interestingly, today, not the day we're recording this, I was watching a recent episode of University Challenge of the UK. They're all on YouTube. Don't know why the BBC allow that, but they are. They're all on YouTube for forever. And they, one of the colleges, they got a question right, and they got questions on board games, and they had pictures of the start of board games in their starting positions.
Okay.
So they had a Go board.
Okay.
They had a Chinese chess board.
Mm-hmm.
They had another version of chess that used the normal pieces, but they're in a different starting order. I don't know what it was called. Mm-hmm. And finally, they had an Othello board.
Okay. Sure.
So I got that question right. So
yeah,
great.
Cool.
Yeah, good choice.
All right, thank you.
43.
What have you got? 43.
I have got probably the 43rd best game that I've ever played. Or at least the time when I made the list.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that I don't think you played this, but I know that you've mentioned it before. It has a gambling theme, but that's just a theme. It's an esoteric thing. Mm-hmm. Vegas Showdown.
Vegas Showdown.
So,
sure.
And I don't think you've played that, have you?
I don't think I've played it. I know you've shown. I'm pretty sure that you've shown me the components and been through the general gameplay.
Yeah,
but
so
I haven't actually.
In Vegas Showdown, you own a hotel casino. Excuse me, and you're basically trying to build up using, like you've got your own play mat, and you fill it in with tiles of different sizes that represent slots rooms or a poker lounge or a restaurant.
The mat represents your hotel.
That's right, and you've got to try to get from one entrance to the other. You need to connect certain kinds of rooms for extra points. And so it's just a tile laying game with a good bidding auction mechanism,
right?
Which I won't go into detail, but it was pretty good.
Okay.
The downside of the game is, from the original version I've got 2005, is the packaging, the components there are pretty sad.
All right.
Pretty crap, really. Like,
right.
Your game board is like a piece of thick plastic sort of thing that you just,
right.
Like they really.
Has there been any talk of the deluxe version of it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, I don't know. It could do with one, so just to spruce it up a bit. So, but it's a very good game and it's reasonably well regarded too. Sure. I think the theme doesn't help it either because it sounds like it's just some random game where you're playing casino games, something like a Vegas Showdown.
Right, some sort of game thing.
It's just a theme that they pasted over the top of a decent Euro game. So, Vegas Showdown, my 43.
Sure. All right, so my number 43.
No crossovers yet.
No crossovers.
Ooh.
No crossovers. Let
Can't wait for that.
Even similar games at the same games at the same spot.
No crossover.
No.
When it happens though, it'll be huge.
I'm sure it will. My number 43 is
Vegas Showdown.
there you go. I would say it's from the late 90s. Very much a common sort of gateway game for getting into gaming. Kind of a map, configurable map. The map layout's different every time. Not Carcassonne, no. Maps. The map is different every time you play it.
Catan.
Catan, of course. Okay. Yeah. So my number 43, Catan. Really good game, really.
95.
95, yeah. So good gateway game. Good production value. Good to play with new game players. Plays up to 6 players. I remember when I was playing it, we'd play a 6-player game in 50 minutes. The time of the box said an hour and a half. We'd kind of smash it out and
lots of fun. The base game you can smash it in an hour pretty comfortably.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, that's a very good choice. And again, it's a little bit. It's like a layer above games like Carcassonne, like Ticket to Ride, in complexity, but not so much that it's
a little more strategy. You've kind of got to have an overarching strategy for the game.
And it's got one of the best uses of hexagons ever, which no one I don't think was really using before that point, was that they used, I mean, hexagons have been in games for a long time because of war games, because of hex maps, but the idea of using the points of the hexagon and the sides of the hexagon instead of just the middle of the hexagon,
Right.
it's brilliant. So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's central to the game, so,
Yes.
and central to a lot of other games that have used that since. So,
Sure.
but I guess you can't really patent, the points of the hexagon. So,
Sure. I guess not.
yeah. But anyway, I think it's a very important game for.
It's an important game.
very
Yeah.
important game.
Yes.
It's right up there with.
And not a game I play anymore. I will never pull this game out of the cupboard unless somebody says, "Hey, I'd love to play Catan or something."
Right. Which is a good reason to point out. If they say, "I like to play Catan,"
It
fine.
is.
Sorry,
It is.
Decent host to do that.
It
so.
is.
Yeah, that's a very good game. So I reckon I've played it 40 million times. So
Okay.
maybe less, but a lot.
Right.
So that was 43, I think. So we moved to 42, and this game I don't own, and you
Okay.
do own.
Oh, okay.
So that's
All
a
right.
similar thing to before.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. This is another very important game
Okay.
in that it pretty much kicked off a whole genre of games.
hmm
It's just a card game.
A card game kicked off a whole genre.
It's got a whole bunch of expansions.
Oh, Dominion.
Dominion.
Yes.
Yes. That's
Okay.
that deck building thing.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and of course, deck building games. There are so many of them now,
Oh. Yeah, and they were all built off the success of this one.
and and if it wasn't for Dominion, you probably would never really head off in that
No,
way.
no, it kicked it off, right?
Especially having it as sort of a central mechanism to a game. So,
Yeah.
so Dominion's just a really clever, simple idea of I've got some cards, you've got some cards, they're exactly the same cards.
Yeah.
Some of the cards you can spend to get other cards.
Yeah.
The cards let you do things.
You're kind of doing your own thing, but also you can have as much or as little interaction with other players as you like, both within the game and also how you set up the game, like based on which cards you
That's right.
choose to include,
Yeah,
and also which
exactly.
cards you choose to make use of during the game.
That's right. And obviously certain expansions, like you've got Intrigue, which is probably the most popular expansion for it. It contains more individual cards that are better for interaction compared to the base
Right.
game.
Right.
And probably some of the other ones would have different mixes of cards that are sort of the individualistic type versus the sort of the gotcha cards or
Right.
the
Right.
interactive ones. So, but the fact that you can have so many different decks to choose from, especially once you pick up expansions, means that no two games will ever be fully the same. So while you could have a
Right.
basic strategy, like I'm just going to get as much money as I can and buy as much cards as I want.
And this is what I find
Other
quite
things
interesting
change.
about it, is the strategy is changed greatly by that mix of cards.
Yeah.
So not only is it highly variable setup for the game, but also the strategy that you have to apply
That's right.
changes for that game.
Yeah,
It alters like the early game, the mid game, and the end game strategies
absolutely.
are significantly different based on the cards that
Yeah.
exist in those.
Because a certain card
starting
can be
decks.
very different on its own compared to if this other card is also in the deck.
Oh,
for
absolutely,
example,
yes.
like in the way
Yeah.
they interact,
Right.
and the way they counteract.
And I guess that's potentially a downside of that game, is that it's potentially that card, the other card might be worthless because there's just one that is actually just better. And
True, but you can just do selected.
I mean, those situations are
deck
rare, but
mixes as well.
you
You,
can.
don't have to
You
go
can.
random. So
Yeah.
Anyway, sure. That's my number 42.
42. All right.
Dominion.
My number 42 is Century Spice Road.
Ah,
Yeah. So not a game that I own. I have played it a couple of times.
I don't own it either.
Have you played it?
Yeah.
You've played this one a few
Yeah.
times, yeah. Okay.
Two or three times.
Okay, yeah. About the same number of times as myself. Century Spice Road, what would you say? It's quite an abstract game. It's resource collection to to operate your buildings and your manufacturing process. Essentially, you're trying to upgrade your chips through a process.
Sort of trading process mechanism.
Right. Process of factories that manipulate those chips and upgrade them to the next level and all that sort of thing. And basically, you've got to build a more efficient kind of game engine than your opponents. Normally, I don't like this kind of game because it's abstract and a little bit analytical and mathematical. But this one I find short enough and interesting enough and interactive enough to overcome those aspects
there's a good race element of trying to get certain combinations of gems to pick up certain cards before other people.
Right.
And then there's a mechanism to make the cards more expensive and they get cheaper and they're sliding down and that, which I think works pretty well. Have you played Splendor?
No, I haven't.
So Century Spice Raid, which I enjoy, deletes Splendor from needing to exist.
Okay.
Apart from Splendor having nicer components, but that's not a reason to buy a game.
Okay.
So
I think Century Spice Raid has fine components.
Oh, it's fine. But Splendor components are particularly nice. But I tell you what they need to do because it's such a bad game. Really, it's a bit dull. It's not that bad. It's a bit dull.
Okay.
And you may as well have a slightly better game.
I have had it explained to me, and that was kind of the impression. It wasn't my sort of game, Splendor. But
yeah, I think this is a slightly better variant with a bit more flavour to it. So
sure.
Yeah, no, good choice. The Spice Road. That's your 42.
That's my number 42, Century Spice Road.
What
have you got for 41?
So we're into the 10th one so far, number 41.
Yeah.
And my number 41 is, a game that I don't own, you don't own.
Okay.
I don't think you've ever played.
Okay.
I haven't played it for a number of years, but I've played it maybe 2 or 3 times. And it's a very early and important worker placement game.
Okay.
It's from 2006.
Early and important worker placement game from 2006. Sorry, no, it's not coming to me.
Ken Follett.
Not the Pillars of the Earth.
No, it is the Pillars of the Earth. Why do you say it's not? It is the Pillars of the Earth.
Right, okay.
So, Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, so that's 2006 this year, which feels about right. Worker placement game. At its core, I think there's a little bit of card drafting at the start.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while, but several different things on the board. Somewhere multiple workers can be placed in the same place, somewhere only up to a certain number can. Mm-hmm. Gathering resources, trading, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. There's a castle that's being built on the side, which isn't the first game to do that, or a cathedral or something.
Well, I believe the cathedral building has nothing to do with the actual game, right? It's just a timing mechanism.
What's that set for?
Right.
Yeah, it is. I think it actually is a game too, so I think it is.
Right. Yeah.
But Pillars of the Earth, again, worker placement. I think it helped take that genre off quite well. And it's my number 41.
41, Pillars of the Earth.
Pillars of the Earth, same. Oh, no, sorry. No, you're just repeating what I said. I thought we had a crossover. You hadn't played that before, so I was going to say, come on.
Not yet. We don't have a crossover.
Okay.
My number 41 is Codenames, actually.
Codenames?
Yeah. So,
I've heard of that one.
Yes. 2-player team game. You have one person selected as the kind of the team captain, and the
Spy Master.
The Spy Master. Sorry, and
operatives.
Right, and the idea is to sort of give clues to your words that are on the board that everyone can see, and have your team guess what words the Spy Master knows on your team, and without giving away those words to the other team. So you just structure the clues around.
Try to link specific words that adhere to your team without trying to link
your
to words that aren't for your team.
And right, exactly.
There's also a black word, isn't there, which is like, don't go there or you lose the game. So
right, is that the one you have to get last or something? Or
if you play that variant. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But generally, in general, you have to avoid that word like the black. And sometimes that word can be such an overlap to the words you're trying to give clues to.
Right, but good fun interactive game. Involves everyone. There's no kind of downturn time, turn taking, that sort of thing.
I think it always works with any sort of crowd.
Generally speaking,
I can see why it's.
And some people might not contribute, fully to it, but they can sort of hold back a little bit on the team and contribute when they've got something they need to.
For sure. It's also a good one for just completely stuffing up your clues and then realising after you've said the clue, you're going to bird for 3,
right?
And there's like someone says they say, "Oh, wow, they're Raven," and you go, "Oh, I didn't see that was there. That's the other team's here."
Right.
Into your turn. So,
Right.
But
And I guess, I mean, sometimes you could do that deliberately, but I guess sometimes a bad clue can put you quite a distance behind, right?
Mm.
And then it can kind of ruin the game. But fortunately, I mean, the games are quite short, so you're
Oh,
never
yeah.
waiting long.
It doesn't
and
ruin
always
the game.
coming back in.
you
Right?
had a poor turn and you pay for it. So.
Yeah, but it can
Yeah.
it could put you in a position that you don't come back from, right?
Well, you can always come back, I think.
Okay.
It depends. Like, you could have, the other team could have only one word to get, and you've got 4 words to get. You just go for a 4.
Sure.
Like, sometimes you have the weirdest sort of angle to try to come up with something that's going to link to 4 words, but
Yeah.
you just have to kind of try it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good fun, good name, good game.
Yep. 41 code
The
names.
number 1 board game geek party game by a mile.
Oh right. Okay.
Not surprising, like it's that versatile.